Hi, this is Ren.
This is KC.
And this is All Walks of Film. Did you hear about this new Star Wars film that was coming out?
Oh, is there another one coming out? There's just always one coming out. I don't think I'm gonna go see that. I literally had that conversation about 10 times last week.
Even though there aren't that many Star Wars films coming out,
No, but it's true. There is always a Star Wars film coming out. We are never in a time where there is not promotion for a Star Wars movie.
Well, I mean, they didn't really promote this one.
Yeah, that's true.
Alright, so we're talking about Solo, a Star Wars story.
Which is a terrible title, and a terrible idea, and fuck you, Studio System.
Yeah, so originally this was going to be directed by Lego movie directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. As many of you know, they were fired by Kathleen Kennedy, and then there was another guy that came in and was promptly fired by Kathleen Kennedy, and then Ron Howard took over. And Ron Howard's IMDb as of late has not been pretty good. He's made some really good films in the past, but I would say
he's too old to be cool.
A little bit. I mean, yes, he did some episodes of This Is Us and Arrested Development. But when it comes to... Oh, that was acting. Sorry. I just, clicked over on the IMDb and... Yeah, obviously he was on those. But, yeah, let's see director. He's all the way at the bottom. Oh, because he was Opie and everything. So... he directed The Box Office Bomb, In the Heart of the Sea.
Oh, you hired him to make a Star Wars movie?
Yeah, he also directed...
to be fair, that was a movie that I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see it. And then I totally forgot to see it.
Yeah, then he directed the Robert Langdon films, or... I don't know what his character's name, but the Da Vinci Code movies.
Ew!
Yeah, and then, you gotta go back a little whiles, and he directed Frost Nixon, which I thought was a pretty decent film, but, not big blockbuster movie. A Beautiful Mind was a film that he won an Oscar for. I actually kind of liked that movie until I actually found out about Nash, and then I was kind of there was a much more interesting story in this. In 2000, he directed The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, which is one of the worst Hollywood movies, Hollywood Christmas movies that everybody seems to love for some reason.
Fuck all of you.
So, yeah, looking at his
Why
filmography...
would you hire him to make a star... Kathleen Kennedy, go home, you're drunk.
Unless I would actually have to go and research, and I apologize for not doing this, and see if Kathleen Kennedy worked on some of his films.
I don't care. I mean, that would make it make more sense, but that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have a lot of contention with Kathleen Kennedy after what's happened to Star Wars. I mean, the most egregious one is The Last Jedi, which...
is so bad that it might have broken the Star Wars franchise based on what happened this weekend. Now, I know some people might be like, oh, but $103 million in an opening weekend, that's pretty good. And look at all the competition that it had. It had Infinity War, and it had Deadpool, and see, it did as well as it could do.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. This was the first Star Wars release that wasn't a phenomenon.
Yeah, and this was a film, granted Harrison Ford wasn't in it, but this was a film starring the most popular character in Star Wars. I mean, other than Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people would argue Luke Skywalker, but
not really.
No. Han Solo for a lot of people, is Star Wars.
Absolutely. And what I mean by this wasn't a phenomenon is the theaters were dead. I saw no lines to see this movie, and
it
I
wasn't
went
dead, but
it was dead. I saw no lines for Han Solo, a Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah, the screen
I
that we
saw
saw.
no lines, and I went to the theaters multiple times that weekend
Yeah.
to look, and there was nobody there.
So opening night was probably the most abysmal because that's what Star Wars is kind of known for, the big opening night where like everybody like piles in and they, you know, go to see the Star Wars film and like all the screenings are usually sold out. We saw one sold out screening and I don't even know if the screening itself was sold out or maybe people reserved that space so that they could, you know, hang out with their friends.
That one asshole who reserved the whole theater to watch it by themselves.
Yeah, that does
that makes
exist.
more sense than it actually being sold out because when I went to get my ticket, I was trying to get a ticket to a 6 p.m. screening of it the day it was released, and the movie theater attendant was like getting really confused, and it turned out he was trying to sell me a ticket to a fan event screening of it that he didn't realize was a fan event screening because none of the fans were screening it. No one had bought a ticket to the fan event screening of Han Solo.
And they were like, do you want to spend, you know, it's not sold out. Do you want to spend the $21 that it costs for the fan event? And it was like, no, thank you. I will use my movie pass, thank you.
Yeah, no. And this isn't just like this one movie theater was dead, even though I monitored my movie theater pretty closely all weekend, including asking the people at the movie, like working at the theaters multiple times. I think Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I checked in with my local movie theater to see how it was doing. But then you have a buddy that I'll let you tell the story about that movie theater, but then also, this is how bad it was, and this is what I mean when I say it wasn't a phenomenon. We both watched a live stream of a fan going to a screening of it at the Chinese theater in downtown LA. And not only
where
were
Star Wars
initially screened, that is the phenomenon, that's the Mecca. And there were less than 200 people there, and a quarter of them were working. Most of the people around the movie theater were not there for the screening, and the guy even caught a look at the theater across the street, and that theater was empty. For a Star Wars opening. I mean, Phantom Menace didn't break the Star Wars franchise, but Last Jedi did.
Yeah, well, the subsequent sequels didn't break the franchise. I mean, let's face it, Attack of the Clones
But Phantom Menace was the first bad one.
Right. Yeah.
And that one had the most Jar Jar.
Well, the most Jar Jar, the most tonally inconsistent. Well, I'm not sure because there's a lot of stuff with The Last Jedi that is more tonally inconsistent than The Phantom Menace, and that's hard to do.
Right. And then you have a buddy who is giving you some details.
Yeah, so I have a buddy that works at a theater to protect him. I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not going to say what theater he worked at, but he worked at a major chain. And
it's not in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. In Chicago. You know, Chicago's a pretty big city, and this is a pretty big theater that a lot of people go to. I mean, like, Emoji Movie sold out there. So, like, just... Mm-hmm. You know, so basic bro audience oftentimes. And, like, this seems like the type of basic bro movie that you would see tons and tons of people go to. I mean, obviously, you know, Star Wars fans are their own group, but
liking Star Wars doesn't make you nerdy, because it's too popular. Like, everyone knows Star Wars.
Avengers, Star Wars, none of that stuff. Unless you like read expanded universe and like really get into the lore and stuff like that, I'm not going to call you a nerd. I'm just going to call you a Star Wars fan because everybody's a Star Wars fan. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird if you're not.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Trekkies that, like, you know, Star Wars and Star Trek fans, like, always like to have that, like, feud, but, like, that's the only group that I see fighting each other.
Mm-hmm. No, there are some people who don't like either one of those because they're like, I don't like that. I'm like, that's weird, and not most people. But at this theater...
Yeah, I was like, how are you guys doing? Because, you know, after seeing the Chinese theater footage and, like, going to the theater and, like, not wanting to pay the money and not wanting to wait, I was just like, show me pictures. And, the
How many people
lobby,
got sent home?
4 people got sent home.
The night of a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, 4 people got sent home. The lobby was empty and clean. And he said that the biggest screen that they had was an IMAX screening, and it was like 120 people in a theater that sat 400.
Wow. Yeah,
and most screenings, he said, like, had about, like, 49 people.
Yeah, didn't he say that the busiest screening was only 37% full?
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Didn't he also say that one screening of Deadpool had more viewers than both of the current screenings of Han Solo put together? And for the record, I asked my local theater, too. They sent home 2 or 3 people that night, too.
Well, to be fair to that, like, calculation or whatever, Han Solo is in more screens. Therefore,
no, I know, but if it's
essentially
on
more people are seeing it, but, like, more
people saw it that night. But
yeah.
What he was saying was, right now there is 1 screening of Deadpool 2 playing, and there are 2 screenings of Han Solo playing, and there are more people watching Deadpool 2 right now than Han Solo.
Yeah.
And it's Memorial Day weekend where a lot of people have a 4-day weekend. If not a 3-day weekend.
And yeah, of course Disney's making the argument that, oh, well, you know, it's Memorial Day weekend and, you know, people are out barbecuing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, and they can't make time for a Star Wars movie. Especially on those first 2 days.
Yeah, the first 2 days before barbecuing.
Exactly.
Barbecuing, well, if you do it right, barbecuing does take that long, but... I'm sorry, I'm throwing some Texas shade.
Alright. But that being said, like...
All of that being said, the reason why any of this is even important is to bring up that it was so visible how much nobody cared about this movie.
Yeah, and Disney has done a lot of deflecting and trying to hide behind the defense of identity politics. I would honestly say, though, if you're going to do it, if you're going to hide behind identity politics, you better make sure you have good identity politics to hide behind.
Well, and more importantly, if you're going to hide behind identity politics, don't cast Childish Gambino in your movie, because everyone agreed that he was the only good thing in that movie. So it's hard to make a point of like, you're sexist, you're racist, when the only thing people liked was the black dude.
Well, yeah, and what was the second most popular Disney movie that came out this year?
I don't think anybody really saw the little indie picture known as Black Panther.
Yeah, so
like, who saw that movie?
Yeah, exactly. So the whole identity politics thing doesn't really
It's bullshit,
work.
yeah.
Yeah, people like seeing good movies, and when you release a shitty movie...
The problem was the white dude! I mean, that's not the only problem. There were many problems with the movie, but a big one was nobody believed that he was Han Solo.
Yeah, Alden Ehrenreich was not a good choice for Han Solo. First of all, he doesn't look like Harrison Ford.
Or act like Harrison Ford. Or sound like Harrison Ford. At all.
No matter how much coaching that they had
supposedly
him do.
Did.
And I've seen a couple people that are like web personalities who've imitated Harrison Ford. One was so good and so accurate that they actually put him in the movie Age of Adeline to play a younger Harrison Ford.
Why didn't you just hire him? Your work was done.
Exactly.
Your work was done.
You probably could have paid him significantly less, and then, use the money.
Because you're paying him in exposure bucks or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't endorse exposure bucks, but I'm just saying, business-wise, it made more sense. Artistically, it made more sense. You did not need to pick literally the first guy who was cast. You most definitely did not need to pick a British dude.
Well, that's one thing that I actually will throw on Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Oh, no. I guarantee I was mad that they got fired, and then when I heard that, I was like, oh! No, they needed to be fired. Never mind.
Yeah.
But at that point, uncast him. Do something.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, a lot of people got on the coaching thing, how, like, he always had a coach with him on set. I've heard that that's actually really not that uncommon, especially with people doing accents. But I think the reason why people are so pissed about that is because Harrison Ford was the epitome of uncoached. He was literally a carpenter who was near the set one time and just sort of, like, accidentally got roped into things. And, like, you put Harrison Ford in different costumes, but you expect him to do Harrison Ford because that's just kind of who he is. He just kind of, like, does his thing, and it's amazing, and it works most of the time. And then when you go in the completely opposite direction of, we need to do, like, ultra-refined micromanaging coaching, people know that means that you're not getting a similar result.
Yeah. Also, one of the big issues about the film, before we actually get into it, is the movie is called Solo. And yet he's never by himself in the movie.
Well, more importantly, the way that they wrote Solo into the story was bullshit.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it. So, the film starts out, with this young rough and tumble guy that is just trying.
Is he a young rough and tumble guy?
Well,
was he ever a young rough and tumble guy in this movie?
Well,
was he ever anything besides prim and proper and perfectly coiffed?
Well, what's funny about it is you get an origin story, which, while you're, the origin story of how he became Han Solo, but while we're going through that, we're getting a backstory of something that actually sounds interesting, but they don't show any of that. About
what?
How he failed Flight Academy and all that kind of stuff having a mind of his own, which would have made more sense for him to be called Solo, nicknamed Solo there, instead of
okay, so
just a random fucking guy just going oh, where are you from? And then it's well, I'm not from anywhere.
I don't have a tribe. I don't have a family. Alright, well, I'm some random dude who knew you for less than 2 seconds, but I gotta put a name on this stupid form, so I'm just gonna write Solo, and you're just gonna keep it. And it's gonna be the thing that defines you forever.
Yeah.
It's something that some random dude wrote on a piece of paper one time by accident.
Yeah, and what's hilarious about it is, Solo oftentimes is called Solo before he's called Han. A lot of people call him Solo, so to have this just be a random name that somebody gives him is just so stupid.
There are a lot of Whedonisms in this movie, and I do mean that as an insult in this case, but the mottos of the movie seem to be, what a crazy random happenstance.
Okay, so, he joins the Imperial Army, and,
completely off screen.
Yeah, but, you see, this little battle sequence, and I'm watching it going, huh, this looks kind of familiar. Hey, Didn't I see that in the first episode of Firefly?
This movie is the series of Firefly, but shit. Like, if you literally watched Firefly, like, if you recorded Firefly with, like, a water bottle in front of the camera, and then you put it on speed, and then you uploaded it on YouTube at, like, a 370, what do you call it when it's, like, the definition?
300 times or something?
No, like, the higher it is, the better the definition. What do you call that?
HD?
Okay, you have it on, like, the lowest possible setting. That's what watching Han Solo is like. It's like, oh, hey, remember the part where, Han's, like, where they were out fighting in the mud, and it's, like, this charismatic white dude with, like, this awesome badass black chick, and then, like, this funny little pilot? Except for, obviously, the badass black chick and the funny-looking pilot shouldn't have ever been married, so, like, we'll switch that around, but, like, it was, like, that specific, where it's like, oh, well, that's Wash's character, so you know he's gonna die. And he does. But, like, it was just that ridiculously close to Firefly, where it's like, okay, so they're fighting in the muddy trenches, and it's kind of crappy. So then they move on to doing a train heist. And then they move on to, infiltrating this shindig. And then they move on to going into, like, hanging out with all the mudders who are on this planet being enslaved by their overlords. And it's like, I watched Firefly a lot too. I don't need a fucking recap. I remember this shit. What are you doing? And then at one point they literally say, like, she's in the ship now. And I'm like, oh my god, you did not just do that. Fuck you. And I know there's a whole thing of, like, Malcolm looks like Han Solo. But it didn't work in reverse this time. At all. Just, God, fuck you, movie. Oh.
Yeah, so in the beginning of this movie,
and I want to make a point about this, though. There was one thing that Firefly did really well on their no budget, that the whole Star Wars universe has had a big problem with since the original trilogy. Well, maybe not since the original trilogy, but, like, in this new saga that they've started. Nothing really looked that sci-fi in Firefly, but it always felt like there was a whole planet, and that you were only seeing one little facet of the planet. Now we're at a point where, like, there are just adjective planets. Like, we have the casino planet. We have the abused orphans planet. Like, that is just literally a whole planet of abused orphans.
Well,
that's just what it's known for, is being the planet of abused orphans. It's so fucking lazy.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, that problem stems from the originals, too, because, you had, you had Tatooine, which was a desert planet. You had Hoth, which was a snow planet, ice planet.
Yeah, but I always felt like we were seeing just that. Like, that's talking about a climate. You're kind of making it like a climate planet a little bit, but you're not making it like a social construct planet.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
like, I never thought that Tatooine was the Rube's planet.
Yeah, the planets were more based on terrain when George Lucas had control. Even looking at the prequels, although I have tons of issues with the prequels, honestly.
But to be fair, when you look at planets, that's not inaccurate. Mars kind of has the same terrain all around Mars.
Yeah.
That's not that weird.
Yeah, Earth is just the weird planet that has different
climates all over it. Yeah.
Terrains and all that kind of stuff.
Right. But it's not just like Tatooine was this is where you dump your sad orphan boy planet.
So, in the beginning of the movie, one of the things that I really liked about Han Solo as a character was he was kind of an asshole and kind of a womanizer and kind of somebody who was really shady. Nope, we're going to change that. He's going to have a girlfriend, and her name's going to be Kira, like in the Dark Crystal. And also the original name of Rey.
I'm trying not to throw up in my mouth right now. Like, literally every time they said her name, I just involuntarily went, ew!
Yeah, so they just...
And yeah, like you pointed out, Rey's original name was Kira, which it makes sense. Kira means sunlight or ray of sunlight. Rey, like, okay, yeah. But then how lazy is it to just be like, oh, you know that thing that we threw in the trash in our computer? Well, we didn't click the recycle button yet. So, like, we didn't click the empty recycle bin button yet. Oh, here's this little thing. We'll just stick it in there, but we'll spell it stupid.
Well, to be fair, they've been doing that with a lot of the sequel movies as well. You know, they're taking Ralph McQuarrie's original artwork, you know, some of his concepts, and then putting it in. And part of me is like, yes, but Ralph McQuarrie, you know, thought about these ideas and expanded on them and came up with better designs, which we got in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And then for you to just take his older designs kind of seems like you're not respecting the artistic process of things. Like, I get that, like, part of you is like, oh, well, isn't it neat that we're including this? And yeah, I do actually really like his original character designs for some of the stuff, but, like, I think his final products worked the best in almost every single case.
But also, that was, like, the original artist and still trying to pay tribute. This is something that just happened a couple years ago. More importantly, she sucks.
Well, okay, so outside of Game of Thrones, and even a little bit in Game of Thrones, Emilia Clarke is a very limited actress. Like,
I think that actually her work on Game of Thrones proves that in the first few seasons, the writing of Game of Thrones was so good that it elevated even a mediocre actress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree, because the minute I started to not like her character was the minute that the showrunners were writing the show and not adapting what George R.R. Martin had originally wrote.
Right, and to be honest, even when I loved Daenerys, I never thought she could never be played by any other actress. That never crossed my mind. And I've never liked Emilia Clarke in anything else she's done outside of Game of Thrones. And I don't like her very much on Game of Thrones either. But when they announced that she was going to be Sarah Connor, I blew a fuse in my brain. Because she is so not suitable for that kind of work. And they just keep giving her, don't you want to be the badass? And it's like, no.
And it was proven in the Terminator Genesis that she wasn't a good Sarah Connor. So much so that they're completely doing away with that movie, and we're getting our original actress.
Thank God.
Back. Linda Hamilton is going to be in the next Terminator movie.
Fuck
and I really like what James Cameron said about that. He's like, we got plenty of old guys being badasses. Why don't we have an old woman be a badass? I mean, Sigourney Weaver's been doing it for a while.
Forever. She's never stopped doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally had Mad Max Fury Road come out and prove that badass old ladies are the shit.
I mean, we
always had the real Mad Max. But that was one old lady who was the shit. It's a little different when you're like, the plurality of them can be awesome.
Yeah. No badass old ladies in this movie, though.
Oh, God. No, we just had fucking Emilia Clarke wasting space and chewing scenery. Like, oh, God. It was...
Honestly, I can't... You know, I know we have some disagreement about L3, but I don't really think that there was, like, a great female character in the entire film.
No, and most of what I liked about L3 was I feel like the only good, enjoyable parts of the movie were when Lando was introduced until the point that, spoiler, L3 died.
Yeah.
So because L3 was there for, like, most of the good parts of the movie, I feel more positively towards her character. Even though her writing is not great.
Yeah.
She's no K2SO. I mean, dude.
And like you were saying with it being like Firefly, one of the big issues that I have with this film is like...
Oh, the pilot was great. He was awesome.
Yeah, the pilot was great. They killed him off like way too early.
Way too early. And then you totally wasted a brilliant actress like Thandie Newton. You had Thandie fucking Newton on your movie. She was in 2 scenes, and all she did was mac on Woody Harrelson, which, to be fair, is all I would want to do if I was on set with him. But, like, that's not an acceptable use of Thandie Newton in your movie.
Yeah, but, like, this whole film just feels like a lot of random plots just strung together. And, like, this movie is long. It's
the second longest in the franchise, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't
need to
earn
be.
its time. You know, I get that you're trying to make it the same length and make it a huge event movie like the...
But you still don't bother to include the parts of Han Solo's backstories that we already have established. Like the whole flight school thing. We literally see him sign up for flight school, and then he gets thrown in the army, where he's like, oh yeah, I got kicked out of flight school for having a mind of my own. What the fuck does that mean? That's the part of the movie we want to see. You literally could have made his entire movie about that. About him signing up for Flight Academy and what he was doing in the academy and how he got kicked out, and it could have been like super Battlestar Galactica-esque, and it would have been cool. That kind of could have been enough for like a fun, off-to-the-side movie.
I don't know, that... Maybe, but like... With a lot of stuff...
It's a better idea than fucking Abused Orphan Planet, led by Headmistress Giant Dick. I mean, she was just a giant penis. Like,
okay, so they
okay, like I said, that it's one of the Whedonisms. There's an episode of Buffy where her manager at the Whataburger that she works at, it's not the Whataburger, but like it's Whataburger. Like her manager grows like a big dick out of the top of her head and like is eating people, and then like Buffy has to feed it through the meat grinder. It's awesome. But there's a giant fucking penis in the episode. It's a giant dick monster. And they use the giant dick monster authority figure as like the very first villain that you see in the movie. It's just like, oh dear God, what's wrong with you?
I don't know.
And she's a vampire!
Yeah.
More of the Whedonisms where it's like, oh yeah, you're a vampire. Why wouldn't you just have easily breakable windows right there in your evil lair?
Well, it also has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Oh, get it? She's kind of like Jabba the Hutt.
But she's female and skinny.
Yeah, well, you
and
flip
a penis.
You flip the genders with Princess Leia and her first interaction with Jabba the Hutt with the thermal detonator and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're trying to draw parallels, even though it's so stupid and they
and it
call
really
it
just
out
makes you want to
immediately.
watch the Jabba the Hutt scene.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, if, you know, like you were saying, if you're weak against light, why would you be next to something that could easily be broken to...
Vampire you away.
Yeah. It's so stupid.
It also reminds me of that Buffy villain that had to live in, like, the giant pool. The one that Faith worked for a little while.
So, like, my question
There's a lot of Whedonisms in this movie. It's not good.
Yeah, and I don't really know why.
I know why. I liked Buffy too. I liked Firefly too. They were amazing when they came out almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, but, like, something that's influenced by Star Wars shouldn't later have...
Like, yeah, you're doing, oh god, what's that called? It's called, entertainment inbreeding.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the whole... They made The Thief and the Cobbler for like 30 years, and then Disney heard about it, and they made Aladdin, and they put it out first. So then the studio tried to put more Aladdin influences into Thief and the Cobbler, and it fucking ruined it.
Please watch the recobbled cut. It is a great movie. The Thief and the Cobbler is a great movie.
Oh, it's a brilliant work of art. It's
the
amazing.
recobbled cut because
Matthew Broderick ruins everything. He ruined Godzilla, and he ruined The Thief and the Cobbler. He didn't ruin Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was already shit, but, you know. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tar and feather me. It's fine. I'm happy burning alive in hell. It's toasty here.
I like war games. Anyways, so Kira and Han get separated.
And then how do they find each other again? That must have been really difficult. Actually, it was super easy, barely an inconvenience. They just run into each other one time. And that's it? Like, what happened to bring them together? They just ran into each other one time.
And she's working for Paul Bettany, aka the guy who played Vision in Avengers. And he's like this guy that has rage issues, and like whenever he gets like really angry, his like scars will like glow.
Because that's literally all we know how to do is bright, whiny, prissy white dudes.
Yeah, he wasn't a
most evil motherfuckers alive. Whiny, prissy white dudes who cry too much. Yeah. Totally our new Darth Vader.
Anyways, so she's working for him, and she has like a brand on her wrist, which kind of reminds me of Fury Road, you know, with the whole like branding thing.
I mean, it's also been done like literally everywhere else. Oh, you know, the hero has this girlfriend, but she gets abducted, and now she has to be. I mean, like it happened with Princess Leia too, where it's like now she has to be like the you know fucking main squeeze and the little chess player piece to this totally evil dude, and what's gonna happen? Oh, fuck you. Really?
Yeah. But,
also, so, I'm really sick of, like, posh, proper British people trying to be, like, really gross homeless street rats. It does not work. Stop it.
Yeah, like, at least with fucking,
At least with Jyn Erso, it made sense because she did have the pretentious upbringing to, like, the point where she was, like, 6 or 8 or whatever. That made a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's like, if you're gonna hire a Brit, at least watch the first Kingsman again. And hire somebody who's, like, Cockney.
Yeah, that's true. But also, it's, like, literally every single Star Wars movie that's come out in the new saga has to have, like, a posh, pretentious British brunette chick. Every single one!
Yeah.
Okay, Kathleen Kennedy keeps insisting we're gonna have so much diversity in Star Wars, you guys, and she keeps letting white dudes direct it. We're gonna have so much diversity in Star Wars, you guys, and it's all prim, proper, pretty brunette British women.
But also, like,
There's no diversity!
But also, like, the minority characters in the background oftentimes suck. I mean, Rogue One was, like, an exception with everything, in my opinion, but, like, when you get to The Last Jedi, it's like Rose Tico sucks, Finn, who was awesome in the first one, sucks. You also have Oscar Isaac, you know, Poe Dameron.
Benicio del Toro was wasted.
Wasted.
Wasted. Diego Luna?
Yeah.
Was so much more awesome in Rogue One than any of those fuckers. And, okay, John Boyega got fucking wasted. And we saw in Pacific Rim 2 that literally when he shows up on set and doesn't even try, he can have a whole movie right on him. He's
that
that
movie's not
charismatic.
great, but like,
no, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
He was the only thing keeping that movie breathing. And you wasted him. You had Kelly Marie Tran, who is charismatic as fuck, and you wasted her.
We do it for love.
Do it for love, fucking chicken pet kiss while she's not at all concerned that everyone she's fought beside it totally just got blown up.
All right, so they're on this mission to get hyper fuel, which.
It's the Tesseract Mother's Cube of MacGuffins for this particular stupid sci-fi story.
Yeah, and all
Hyperfuel
of this
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, this whole thing is just trying to explain the Kessel Run.
Right. As if the Kessel Run in 20 parsecs wasn't totally a fucking lie. Like, that is the reason why everyone's obsessed with that line is because it's such a linchpin of who Han Solo is as a character that he can just make up total bullshit and lie through his teeth and sell it like it's nothing and like it's truth. And then you went around and you retroactively made it true somehow, making his brag actually a lot less impressive. But you're also like trying to retroactively ruin the Han Solo character.
Well, originally the joke was that parsecs is a unit of measurement and, not a speed. So
but that's
when
what I'm
he
saying,
makes
he's
that
lying.
when he makes that, well, technically the way that they put it, he made it in 20 parsecs, right? As opposed to 12, which he claims in A New Hope. So he still was lying, but the parsecs thing was true.
But he was lying, and you made it true.
Yeah. They
did way too much to make him like a goody-goody Boy Scout heart of gold. Total nonsense. Also,
you made him too much of a badass, which that's actually one of the things that I loved about Han Solo, because he wasn't really that much of a badass outside of being a good pilot. Yeah.
He just cheated.
Yeah, exactly. But instead, you make Lando the cheater in the scene where...
one fair and square. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I actually thought that was going to be a much more intense scene. Similar
because it would have
to,
been like a thing of the scoundrel stealing from the scoundrel.
Yeah, exactly. Similar to, Casino Royale. Like that, really intense really intense poker match that they have against each other. Sorry, I'm not, a huge poker player. I think it's Texas Hold'em, but I'm not sure. That's a really intense scene that goes on for 20 minutes. And you think the scene to win the Millennium Falcon would be a pivotal moment that you wouldn't just come back to at the end of the movie.
As part of your falling action. Kind of after everything was already done, just we kind of forgot to write this into the story. Let's just sort of tag it on at the last second. It'll last less than 2 minutes, and it'll be the only evil thing that Han Solo does in the whole movie.
Well, it wasn't really evil because
it was fucking evil.
No, Lando was cheating in the first place.
No. Here's the problem. It's not that he didn't cheat when he played the game. It's that the whole time he's morally good. Very morally upright and outstanding and very British. Very, very obnoxiously British. But the only time he did anything bad in the whole movie is when he took back the Millennium Falcon, because at that point, we established in the story that Lando has a very close personal relationship with this droid, and the droid dies, and the only way that she survives is by being put into the Millennium Falcon and becoming a part of the ship. So when he won the Millennium Falcon fair and square, that's still not a morally good thing in my eyes, because you're taking away his closest friend in the only way that she still survives. And you know that!
And the only reason why that whole story about Lando's droid L3 has any relevance to the Millennium Falcon is if you watch The Empire Strikes Back. C-3PO is having a conversation with the ship, and then he's like, "This ship has the most peculiar dialect." And so that was kind of like
an inside joke about that.
Yeah. I kind of have an issue with how L3 moves in the film because, like, you know, George Lucas
it was kind
did
of
this. George Lucas not really addressed, but he created this problem in the prequel series by having R2-D2 do all this crazy stuff. You know, especially in Revenge of the Sith, where he's like flying up and like using flamethrowers against people and stuff. You know, but the films are not consistent with the mobility of droids, and I get that like technology is improving digitally, so you can have like characters have more mobility and everything like that, and you can have what's the droid that we like?
Or K2SO?
K2SO. Like, you can have characters like that, and I'm, you know, it's okay, but at the same time, it's like, you establish in A New Hope that droids are to a certain level, that every single droid that we see, and I get that,
they kind of move a particular way, and they kind of have particular functions.
Exactly, but when you establish that this is before all that, like, I can forgive stuff like BB-8, you know, because that's later in time.
Right, but your main point is how the fuck did a droid like L2 get created before R2-D2 and C-3PO?
Right. Well, technically in the timeline it would be after, but like, because, you know, we don't know how old L2 is, and this is after that the prequel trilogy, so it's like in between that time. But that being said, yeah, exactly. That's not enough time for technology to advance that much.
Well,
in order
L3,
to have
L3
that
is probably the most like overblown droid that we've seen.
Yeah, she's
in Star
also
Wars. So it doesn't make sense to put her in the middle of the timeline technologically.
I do have an issue with the fact that she behaves more human than C-3PO ever did, and C-3PO, like, while he was scared all the time, which is kind of funny for like a robot to be scared, like, it still like made sense in the context, and his mobility was limited. Like, he couldn't even move his arms that much. Mm-hmm. Like, that was like built into the character.
And then you have like R2-D2, who can functionally do some things, but like in general, he kind of just is a trash can on wheels.
Yeah, and
functionally.
And another issue that I have with the film, though I will say I like the fact that there were some subtitles in this movie, which is something that a lot of the Star Wars films are afraid to do, even though like that used to be a big thing. You know, oh, wow, we have all these sound designers who can come up with interesting sounding robots, interesting sounding alien languages and stuff like that, and now everybody has to speak English.
Right, but then they went too far in the other direction, because now Han Solo speaks Wookiee. Not, he understands Chewie when he talks, like everyone else kind of can. No, he's literally making Wookiee sounds and communicating with him in Wookiee.
Yeah, so, like...
That shit's gonna give me nightmares.
Yeah, so, like, watching the original trilogy, it's clear that Han Solo understands Wookiee, but...
and that Chewie understands English.
Yeah, but similar to District 9, it was my assumption that he couldn't actually speak it. You know, somebody like C-3PO could probably speak it because...
He's a robot and he doesn't have the same physical limitations
exactly.
as organic beings, such as humans and Wookiees.
Exactly. And the whole thing with District 9 is these prawns have like clicking and stuff that they can do, but no human can actually imitate the clicking. They understand and they'll have conversations with them, but they're not speaking the prawn language.
Right.
But like this movie is like, oh, well, you know, Han Solo totally knows how to speak Wookiee. Now,
no backstory though.
Exactly.
He's like, yeah, I speak it a little, like that's just a given somehow.
But it would have been much better if he had just acknowledged that he knew what Chewie was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, it also would have been, out of anything that you could have done in a prequel series to establish it, why couldn't you establish why it is that so many human beings can understand Wookiee?
the whole alien language thing is really weird in Star Wars. Because, like, you know, the fact that C-3PO gets taken by Jabba as an interpreter, you know, that actually works because, you know, you have C-3PO interpreting the language, which is something that, like, Star Wars is afraid to do with the other films now. Like, now that you don't have C-3PO as a active member, somehow language translation isn't, like, something important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's... So, when they meet, they kind of parallel the scene with Luke Skywalker in the Rancor pit. And, like, part of me actually thought there was going to be a Rancor that showed up and, like... but, you know, as soon as the silhouette of Chewbacca came, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, see, as soon as I heard the beast, I was like, it's Chewie.
Okay. Well, I thought that was a little cute, but obviously the interaction, not so much. Also, like, Chewie deserved to be a more prominent character in this movie.
Chewie just keeps getting shafted in this new saga. Like, first Carrie Fisher's just like, fuck you, no hug. Random strange girl, motherly embrace. To this, where it's like, oh hey, Chewie! Yeah, you're not important. Why is his best shining moment hanging out with fucking porgs? That's how low Chewie's gotten.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. His best shining moment in the past several films is when he goes on his rampage after Han Solo gets killed.
Okay.
Like, that's the best Chewie moment we've gotten in a long time.
Okay.
I like the introduction of him in Revenge of the Sith. Like, that was cute.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that...
I didn't mean since the original trilogy. I said in the new saga.
Well, that's not the original trilogy. Revenge of the Sith.
The prequel trilogy.
Prequel trilogy, yeah. I mean, that might not have been Chewbacca, but it certainly was a character.
It's also not Lumpy. No Lumpy in this movie.
Yeah, they kind of hinted that online, that, like, Lumpy or, like, one of the other...
Oh,
like,
as soon as I saw the first trailer, it was like, oh my god, they brought Chewie's wife into this. What the fuck?
So if you're unfamiliar with Chewbacca's wife, there is a really, really horrible, infamously bad... Huh?
Wasn't Lumpy his son?
Oh, what was his wife's name?
God, I don't remember. Scrotum face? I don't know.
But, yeah, there's an infamously bad Star Wars holiday special, which you can find on YouTube. And you can find all over the internet, even though George Lucas has tried his best to delete it from the world.
So if you're still upset that he raped Indiana Jones, you can get back at him by watching Star Wars Christmas Special.
Exactly.
Star Wars Holiday Special. Star Wars Life Day Special.
Yeah.
But really you're hurting yourself more than anyone else when you watch that.
And no matter how bad the Star Wars movies get, I don't think you can get worse than the Holiday Special.
The B. Arthur scene's pretty good.
Yeah, but then you have the stir.
That probably made more sense to the Star Wars Holiday Special than most of the story did to this story.
Yeah.
I would rather watch that stir whip scene before I would watch the freaking Casino Planet scenes again.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
The casino scenes are fucking boring and too long. At least with stir whip, you can have some fun with it. Stir whip, 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 stir, wah!
So they go on this train job, which, like you said,
It's the train job.
yeah.
We made it past the pilot and into episode 2. Good job.
And you have this character who is masked, and there's some menace to this character, and I thought it was really weird, the music that they were playing in the background, because it sounded like really uplifting. And I was like, why is the music uplifting?
It sounded like Akira.
It did.
Because let's literally try to be like every other sci-fi franchise that isn't Star Wars in a movie titled A Star Wars Story.
Yeah. And the mission fails. The two best characters in the squad get killed. I forget what the forearm guy was, but he was pretty cool.
Yeah. He was Monkey Wash?
Yeah. And Thandie Newton gets killed, and Woody Harrelson feels bad for like a second.
Yeah, it's like, oh, his wife and best friend died right in front of him. Like, don't feel the need to ever talk about that again.
Yeah, I mean, I get that you might want to hold it back for the mission.
Well, there's like a difference between stoicism and it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Which I can understand, like, holding it in until you get to safety and then breaking down.
But you have to do that. But there's also a part where, like, Woody Harrelson comes back to me and is like, what'd I tell you? You don't trust anyone. It's like, oh yeah, especially not someone like you're married to, right?
Yeah.
Definitely don't trust women, right?
This movie is all over the place. Like, I mean, the one positive thing I can say about it is the cinematography is objectively better than The Last Jedi. Well, The Last Jedi did have its moments that I thought were really well filmed, like the part where they emulate Ron with Luke Skywalker, like, walking out
right.
with the
but then,
AT-ATs and everything.
But then I feel like the cinematography kind of failed in that I'm pretty sure that they didn't get enough coverage for a lot of scenes based on the way things are edited. Particularly a lot of the fight scenes, because I know for a fact this was not a Gal Gadot situation where the actors couldn't do the shitty choreography they were given. It was just a thing of you didn't get enough coverage of it, so the editor kind of had to act like he was a fucking maniac high on crack cocaine to try to make anything salvageable because he didn't get all the footage.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
I actually thought the editing in the train sequence was pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can kind of get away with that since a lot of that was CGI.
Oh, yeah. Good CGI, though.
Yeah. The CGI was really good. I would say that the production design had good elements.
I would say that the production design is butt fucking ugly.
Okay.
Dude, it's so ridiculously bland and unappealing and lame. It's fucking Star Wars. Give it some fucking flavor. What are you doing?
I really got mad at the Millennium Falcon design in this movie. And then to find out that the missing chunk... Well, I didn't even know it was a missing chunk. None of us did. Because we just thought it was a cool design.
Right.
You know, and then it turns out to be the escape pod. What?
Yeah. Also, I feel like literally everyone in the fucking galaxy drives the Millennium Falcon alone besides Lando. And it's his fucking ship. You need a pilot and a co-pilot. Everyone flies this shit alone perfectly the first time. Nothing about the Millennium Falcon looks self-explanatory. Everyone can just, like, sit in there and immediately fly it, and it's amazing.
Oh, what was it that Ray said? I bypassed the...
Oh god, whatever.
Yeah, but I will say I'm glad that this film is doing as poorly as it's doing. Now, I also will say that it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh no, out of the new saga, the 4 movies that have come out so far, it's easily the second best one, and I still hate it.
I honestly would say it's the third because I actually kind of like The Force Awakens.
You do that.
Alone. I didn't like The Last Jedi, but I thought The Force Awakens was decent.
I still think that the parts with Lando are actually pretty fun and interesting. Like, once it gets to the point where Lando's introduced and they're hanging out in that, really dive kind of place and everything's kind of actually looking a little sketchy, the fun kind of started to kick in a little bit. And then they try to go on this whole mission and they accidentally, start a whole robot uprising rebellion by accident. But it's kind of fun. That was the only time I actually had freaking fun during this stupid movie. The only time I had freaking fun this whole saga. Because that's my big problem with The Last Jedi. A lot of people were like, well, if it's just a dumb, fun movie. And it's like, no! I'd like it more if it was. It's not dumb and it's not fun. It's definitely not fun.
Yeah, and also I will say
it's just bad.
This movie was way too confident in itself in establishing a new film series.
There was one thing I really liked until they kind of fucked it up.
Which was?
There was one thing I freaked out about.
Alright, so if you haven't seen Solo, A Star Wars Story, and I know
we already spoiled the shit out of it. Too late.
Yeah, but this is the biggest spoiler because most people weren't seeing this coming. So, remember that character that was killed off in The Phantom Menace and everybody was pissed off about it?
'Cause he was so freaking awesome! For the whole 2 minutes he's in that movie, he's just so freaking badass! That guy!
So, Kira's in a room talking with this robed figure, and when you hear him talking, it's like, I think I've heard this voice before. And it's like, but not in the movies. This kind of reminds me of a voice that I heard in a trailer. You know, that voice that was like, at last we will have our revenge, at last the Jedi will fall. I forget the exact line, but, yeah, it's Darth Maul!
It's Darth Maul! I was so psyched! I thought I'd never see him again for a full 30 seconds. It was amazing.
In live action, because, he's shown up in the comics.
No. Movies! Real!
Ray
He's
Park.
right there!
Yeah, Ray Park, Darth Maul. Yeah.
Darth Maul! But unfortunately, it was a little too much like Ready Player One, where I got so excited about it, and then it happened, and it all fizzled away into nothingness.
Yeah, but at least in Ready Player One, you gotta fight with a Gundam and Mechagodzilla.
But it wasn't Mechagodzilla!
Okay, whatever.
That's what I'm talking about! You have Kube, and you see that he's getting ready for his mech, and you're like, oh my god, Iron Giant and Mechagodzilla. This is what I needed all my life. This is the only reason I was put on this earth, was to see this happen. And then it's not Mechagodzilla. And then you just don't care anymore. Even after a Gundam jumps out of fucking Serenity, you're just like, nope, don't even care. Not Mechagodzilla versus Iron Giant. You got me too hyped and failed. Darth Maul did the same thing.
Yeah, because he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything! And then he does his really awkward posturing with his double-sided dildo thing, and it's just like, oh god, you're just embarrassing yourself. No, in in the Phantom Menace, he had a double-sided lightsaber. In this one, he was just a fucking dildo. It did nothing besides make him look embarrassed.
Are you talking about the other guy? The Paul Bettany guy?
No. I'm talking about Darth Maul.
Okay.
It was just like such awkward, forced posturing. It was just fucking embarrassing. I was like, Darth Maul, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. I told them how cool you were.
Yeah, so...
No one's gonna come to my birthday party.
So overall, this
One other thing though. When I heard Childish Gambino was gonna be Lando, I was like, thank God there's one thing to look forward to in this movie. But I was also like, it's gonna be a problem. Cause like I know he's always wanted to play Lando and he's been trying to play Lando for like 10 years. But I was like, but you're Childish Gambino, like you're already a personality. Like I'm not gonna look at you and not see you. You know? Like you're always just gonna be Donald Glover in your Lando costume. You know, that's cute, but like I see you. This Is America just came out. I'm gonna see you.
Yeah.
No, I forgot about it. He was just Lando. I just bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there weren't Donald Gloverisms in there, but like, I bought it. I was just like, oh yeah, that's Lando. It's just, he's Lando. Whatever. Never saw Han Solo show up in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of saw it a little bit with how he held the blaster, but that was about it.
Well, of course you can strike a fucking pose. Like, that's not hard. I could emulate that if you gave me, like, 2 minutes in front of a mirror. That part's not hard. That's, like, the easiest part of being Han Solo, is holding your blaster a certain way. And that was, like, one shot in the whole movie. That was literally oh, no. It was 2 shots. Because remember, he's still shooting everyone after he goes into the Millennium Falcon. And he clearly can't see anyone and he's still just shooting. And it's like, that's gonna ricochet, you dumb fuck. What are you doing? There's so many dumb, stupid mistakes all over this movie. And not like in a fun way. Just to know, like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
And the pirates really suck, too. Like, I know it was supposed to be this whole thing of, like, this masked figure was a woman? But literally no one is surprised, because no one cares. It's 2018, no one cares.
But that's like Kathleen Kennedy's whole thing. Like, she, like, is like, oh, look at this strong, powerful woman who does nothing.
Well, not only does she do nothing,
that's
but
my
like,
issue with it. Like, you don't go anywhere with your quote-unquote strong, powerful women. Like, oh, Admiral Haldo, what does she do? Well,
she stands around.
Yeah, she stands around and says...
And she kind of fucks shit up with her crappy leadership.
Yeah.
Great role model.
She's kind of like that guy in Heavy Metal where she's like, I have a plan, I have an angle. But she won't tell anybody the fucking plan.
And then she turned Princess Leia, one of the best female role models of our times, and turned her into Hillary Clinton. Dear God, did that never need to happen?
Yeah, that outfit looked very Hillary.
Oh, it wasn't the outfit. It was also all the, like, pseudo-posturing while you lay in bed and do fucking nothing most of the time. And then talk about how awesome you were by doing fucking nothing most of the time.
Yeah. And, like, I know a lot of people have speculated, about Kathleen Kennedy because, like, there are some people who are like, oh, well, Kathleen Kennedy doesn't like Star Wars. Well, yeah, it seems pretty clear because, like, if you look at her resume, she has one of the best resumes out there. Yeah, there's some stinkers in there, too, but, like, she produced Indiana Jones, she produced E.T., she produced a ton of amazing films from the 80s and 90s.
Well, she probably got too old to be cool. For one. But then for another thing, I think that clearly the person who doesn't like Star Wars is Rian Johnson. He is the Paul Feig of Star Wars.
And but she granted him an entire trilogy.
Oh, but they did the same thing with Han Solo. They gave that fucking actor a 3-picture deal before Han Solo came out. Why would you do that?
But also, like, okay, so you're having issues with production. This is Star Wars. Wouldn't you have time to, like, put the brakes on and maybe think about the film that you're making? Because clearly they thought, oh, we can just milk this dry cow for as long as possible. Well,
okay,
sorry.
Now you're insulting cows.
All right. But they were trying to milk this cash cow. And they thought
still
nothing...
insulting cows. Stop comparing us to cows. Cows are beautiful, sensitive, wonderful creatures. And they also still don't smell as bad as this franchise.
It's clear that leadership is very poor with this production team. Not with Marvel, because Marvel's kicking ass right now. Especially recently. We saw Avengers Infinity War, and I actually was not looking forward to that one because I thought, oh, Thanos, this bullshit character that you've addressed in all these films, and like, oh, he's gonna be like this and this, and I was like, I don't care, you haven't established him. And while I still have issues with the fact that you could have built on his character a little bit more, he was actually really great, and I really enjoyed Avengers Infinity War, a movie that I was not incredibly excited to see, but
then you found out that the villain is the ideology of the Purge put into a big purple people eater.
Yeah. The Star Wars films have the subtlety of a sledgehammer under Kathleen Kennedy's control. I mean, George Lucas, while his films were totally inconsistent, I do find it kind of hilarious that it's like, I made it for kids, and he infused the whole movie full of, like, convoluted space politics. So, like, George Lucas had his own issues with Star Wars, but it seems like they went in the other direction with this new trilogy and just dumbed down everything.
Well, they also went too far in the,
not trilogy, but, like, the new films that they're making.
They also went too far in the other direction of, like, oh, well, George Lucas went too far in making everyone fucking related and making this whole galaxy, like, super incestuous. We're gonna go super far in the other way and say nothing ever matters, nothing happens for a reason, everything is random, everyone is nobody, and there's no point. It's like, dude, this isn't French New Wave. Stop. Go home with your nihilistic crap.
Watch more French New Wave stuff. I'm not a huge fan, but there are some good.
I wasn't talking bad of French New Wave. I'm just saying that's a... Star Wars is not that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really frustrated where the franchise is going, even though, like, this was a lot better than the last film that came out. I do think that they need to put the brakes on Star Wars and think about the films that they're making before they just pump out more. And hopefully this film gets them to think. Honestly, I would like to see Kathleen Kennedy taken off of Star Wars, because clearly she doesn't respect the franchise and respect feedback given enough to make this franchise work. Constantly going back to identity politics to try to defend films that don't really incorporate good identity politics, because, like, let's face it, you can't hide behind that with this film because the main character's a dude. But I've seen them actually try to hide behind it and say, oh, well, the reason why this movie didn't do well, I'm not kidding you, I saw this, the reason why this movie didn't do well is because it started dude.
That's stupid. It's because it starred that dude.
Yeah,
no one wants to see a movie with that guy.
Yeah.
I never want to see a movie starring that dude. Ever again. I'm gonna say for me, I'm sick of watching Star Wars movies and waiting for them to be fucking over. I've seen one good Star Wars movie. Out of 4. I've seen one that is even worth rewatching. And I know, like, the first time I saw Force Awakens, I was like, yeah, Star Wars, it's not that bad. But, like, you think about it and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, it really was that bad. What the fuck was I thinking? And then you watch it a second time and you're like, oh my god, this is fucking terrible. I'm sick of hating Star Wars. Like, with The Last Jedi, I literally had a moment where The Last Jedi was so bad, it made me think that the whole franchise had always been bad. And I thought about it, I was like, no, obviously not. Star Wars is awesome. But, like, there's more bad than good now. Officially, in the official film canon, there's more bad than good.
Yeah, we're not talking about the expanded universe. We're not talking about the Clone Wars or Rebels. We're talking about the official film canon.
Not even like the spin-off movies. I'm talking about out of 9 movies, there's 4 good movies. Not really. There's 1 good movie and 3 excellent movies. And the rest is crap that all needs to go away. That's bad. And if anyone was going to give this movie, like, any room for hope, it was going to be me. Because Rogue One was the only movie in the new saga I've liked. And I like the idea of spin-off movies. The fact that they don't have the big, opening credit things doesn't bother me that much. But, like, they really made it work with Rogue One. And after Rogue One, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to like all the spin-off movies now. Because there's room for that. No, there's not.
So what did you think about Solo? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you so much for listening. Sorry, I've been extremely busy. I've been moving, so I haven't been able to put a lot of these out. So once I get moved into my next place, I'll probably be able to do this a little bit more frequently than I have. Keep holding your heads high.
How long was that?